Hello and welcome to the Room to Talk podcast. And as we are coming from you from April 2021, we now have the luxury of sitting with two contributors today to our podcast, which is appropriate because today we are talking community. Today's guests are Annie and Jackie. Welcome, girls. Can you first tell me a little bit about how you know each other? Jackie?
I first met Annie doing voluntary work about 6 years ago, and she does sewing and she does knitting, and I said I'd like to do it. And so through all that, this is how everything progressed. It got bigger. But coming to Annie's sewing group, and that was started just through voluntary work, just asking someone to do something, and I came along. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Just to get to know a little bit more about each of you now, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, Annie?
Sure. I retired from a school. I was a school business manager, and I retired 11 years ago, and then started looking for things to do in my spare time. I used to do patchwork and quilting at St Sebastian's Hall, and then we moved to this centre here at St Aidan's, and we introduced knitting and crafts as well, so each one runs twice a month and the other one does twice a month.
So, and a little bit about yourself then, Jackie.
I used to live down south, and in 1970 I moved up here, and I lived in Cheshire, and I worked for British Aerospace and the government side. And then in 2003 we sold our house because we bought a place in Spain, and I didn't want my daughter to keep coming up the A6, so we bought a house in Salford, and then my mother took poorly. She got Alzheimer's, and I had a great grandson. So our dreams to live in Spain just became 3 months at a time. And because I got bored, I retired in 2010. And because I got so bored, because I did a lot of travelling, I looked for voluntary work. And that voluntary work became with Annie and Leslie and a lot of other things I did as well. And I've never looked back since, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Okay, so Annie, could you describe the sort of things that you do with the group?
Yes, certainly. We do patchwork and quilting. I don't know if you've seen the quilts, but they go back hundreds of years, which first started in America. We do knitting. People can knit whatever they want. What else do? We do crafts. Some people bring hand embroidery to do instead of knitting. And of course I volunteer on the allotments, which I absolutely love. Been doing it for 4 years now, 5 years. I've got my name down to get a plot of my own, but I've got a few years yet to wait, I think. But I'm looking forward to that.
And why is it important then, this sort of activity that you do with the group then, Jackie?
Because we do it not only for ourselves. I don't sew very much because I don't like sewing. I'd rather knit. But I think we do a lot of things for the charities, for the hospice, for the hospitals, for babies. And that's when you get rewarding, when you see bonnets, blankets, little chicks for Christmas. You get rewards for doing things like that day in and day out. And also for doing the quilts. If you do a good one, you can sell it and bring money to the group to buy towards or other things. And this is just a knitting and sewing group. And then both Annie and I, we both do allotment work on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever we do that. Again, we get satisfaction out of all that because you're growing things. You see things starting from seed and then growing, and then you eventually take them home and eat them, cook them, And
Absolutely.
And also Leslie can bring things here. She has a cooking group. She does things here. We do things with the schools. We do things with the Broughton House or for St George's. And it's so rewarding to see their faces.
Sounds like you have a good time. Can you see yourselves, without this particular group or groups like this, going off your own back and doing this? Would you have ever saw yourself doing this before you joined the group?
I personally wouldn't have done because I work with the homeless I do things like that. And I also sit on the board at Salford Royal. So that was my first involvement because my doctor put me forward for that. And then because I get so much rewards out of doing what I do, you always want to go on to bigger and better things. But I think what I do, I give 110% to what I do with the groups that I'm with now. And I'm more than happy to do that. And my rewards are seeing you reap your rewards, and that's what I like doing.
Is that the same for you, Annie? Have
Yes.
you previously accessed groups like this prior to our group?
Yes, I did. I joined an actual patchwork and quilting group in 2011, just after I retired. And that's how I got into it. And we used to meet at St. Sebastian's. And then we had the opportunity to move here. So we did, because it's a bit more local for people around here to get here, quickly.
Okay, so Annie, obviously you both said that you retired.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you would recommend any sort of new members who are looking for things to do, or anything that you would recommend for the group in terms of activities that people could come to a group like this and do?
Absolutely. We do. People just walking past or coming to the church, we had a poster up in the hall, and quite a few people joined because of that poster. But we're full at the moment because this is one of the rooms that we meet in, and it isn't huge, but we manage.
Yeah.
We have a chat and we have a cup of tea or coffee and refreshments halfway through. So it's very good for people. And of course, they like to chat to everybody. So we get that out of the way first and then down to business.
So what would you say were the benefits of participating in a group like this?
Meeting people, listening to people, and for people to talk, because some people are on their own and they haven't got anybody else to talk to, and we have a laugh. More important, it's being with the people. The work comes second to me. It's being with people and helping people and listening to people. And we, like Annie's just said, we've got a couple of people in, and from this, we also do the line dancing, which I will bring up because I've brought quite a few people to the line dancing, and that's another thing that goes on in this community hall here, is the line dancing. Annie does all the accounts and that for it, and it's wonderful. The whole thing, it's done with humour. It's not serious. We're not serious people. And that's why people say, oh, it's so lovely because we feel so relaxed. Nobody tries to I'm not a sewer, but I'll help somebody. And I'm not a dancer, but I like dancing. I'm not a knitter, but I do it. And I get rewards. If I've done something, I get excited over it.
That's important, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah. Very important.
Yeah. So obviously you work on the projects that you work on, but from time to time you work with people with different ranges or backgrounds and things like that. Do you think there are things that groups like ours can do to bring more people from different backgrounds and age groups? Are there any activities that you've got in mind that people could participate in?
None at the moment, but it's a possibility that we can do. And my husband is thinking of starting an art group here. Right. So for children or grown-ups.
And what sort of things would that entail?
Just coming along, having a cuppa, maybe learning about the art, or maybe just start to paint and see what they do. See how, what kind of... not sure the word is.
Getting people's creativity.
Yes, the creativity part of them.
Yeah, it's nice to be able, in your free time, to be able to...
And what was great, we had some children on here. Was it the beginning of last year? And then, of course, they had to stop coming because of it. And they were absolutely, they really loved it. You asked them a question and all the hands went up. So they knew quite a lot, and that was nice working with the little ones.
Sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Jackie, do you have any recommendations or ideas, activities-wise, yourself?
I do. I bring my grandchildren. My grandchildren, one's 15 now and one's 9, but they've been coming on for the last 5 years. And they're not into it because they're more into their schooling. But they come here and they've spoken to Bill. They pick things. They get information, not just all about gardening, but Bill and his husband, my grandson, youngest grandson, was interested in the moon, the stars, the planets. And he rhymed that off because things people are interested in, they remember. And like Annie's just said about Bill, but my grandsons love it. They did planting the other day. And if we could get more children involved, like we've got the school, but I don't mean just the school. I mean people with children, to get them involved just to appreciate.
Yeah, have an active interest.
That's right. And not just in gardening, but in hopefully the social side of what goes on here. And drop-ins and things like that. That's what we want to do, and do arts and crafts, like Annie's just said, do painting, like she's just said, even do plays and drama. There's, you can broaden it to quite a big, wide spectrum, because the place is big enough to carry it through. And I've got so much, I feel so proud about what we do.
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely marvellous. And just by talking to people, people say, do you really do this? And do you really do that? Could I come along? Of course you can come along. You don't have to join. We've got 2 ladies now that come. They don't sit, they don't knit, they don't sew, but they like to come along to be with people.
Yeah.
Dot and Brenda, because they're lonely people. And they get in the car and they come from not just around the corner. And they just love it, the same as they come dancing, because they love the people. And that's what we're about. The community's about people.
And do you think you necessarily have to be directly participating in the group to be able to benefit from what the work the group that does? Or do you think it helps the group at large? Do you think it helps the community at large just having somewhere like this?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I think the same as Annie. I don't think you need to be part of it. I think having the community at large, like we are, I think that's more important.
And how do you think it can benefit the community at large, those who may not directly participate in the group, to be able to have a group like this?
Just to try and encourage people to come, perhaps take leaflets round and pop them through the letter boxes to come along and join us and see what we do.
And knocking on doors.
Knock on doors. I think it would be nice for the future, when perhaps things have settled down a little bit. We could perhaps have a show with all the things that we make, and put them on display.
And you can
try
also
and encourage people to come and have a look.
And you can also do a market research type of thing. Stop people on the streets rather than always go knocking on the door. Knock on the street. Stop people on the streets and asking them what they would like as a community. What would be right for them, and would they like to get involved in something? Because that's how you get people to get involved, is by asking questions.
Yeah, I think as well, just having this group like this, obviously we couldn't fit 12,500 people in this area in this building or over time, but I think being able to have the standards that we have in this group and being able to work with a small amount of people can also bring about a greater amount of goodwill and relationships within the community. So you might know somebody who's part of one sort of friend group or a family, and being able to have that sort of goodwill with that particular person can spread the goodwill, and I think that's what's great about
it's
this.
like spreading the news.
Spreading the news.
Yeah,
Definitely. Try and encourage other people to come. Yeah.
So obviously we're coming off, hopefully, the back end of 12 months of a nightmarish pandemic and restrictions for that. How those restrictions affected your life, Annie?
Not being able to come here to see our ladies, to do the groups, that's been sad, because a lot of them live on their own. I've had a quiet life, really.
Yeah.
So, where can you go? What can you do?
Yeah.
The only time I go out is when I go shopping once a week.
And
is that in contrast to what life is normally like for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And what about yourself, Jack? Has it impacted yourself?
It did impact me badly, because I go out quite a lot. I'm not a home person. But on saying that, I asked, after 3 weeks of being at home at first, I was climbing the wall, and I asked Leslie if it was all right if both Raymond and I, and my husband, could come onto the allotment. I said, I need some activities. because we decorated the house, we decorated the garden, and I thought, what else can I do? And so we came onto the allotment. And from that on, obviously there was only Raymond and I, and then Annie and Bill. We'd pass messages on what we'd done and what was going on, and so we managed to keep the allotment. I think the allotment got COVID as well, though, and like going out shopping. But I did miss my family. I miss my family dreadfully, and the people. We miss the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we're going in the right direction, hopefully now. And,
Thank the Lord.
Yes, let's hope so.
going forward, hopefully, we'll all come back together and things can get back to normal. So with that in mind and with new beginnings in mind, is there anything that you hope for the future of the group, Annie?
Hope that it grows. More people join. People are nice to each other. Yeah.
And about yourself,
I would
Jackie?
just like it to grow and to go and expand a lot more. Because I'm hoping, I know, and I'm praying and hoping that we get the whole church. That hopefully, I'm counting the chickens before they hatch, really. But if we can expand. There's so much good things that come out of it. That's all I'm hoping. If I have to go and drag them in off the streets myself, I don't think so.
The allotments really were a godsend because we could still go on them, but not together.
Yeah.
We could just go as a couple.
Yeah.
One day, you and your husband went another day.
Leslie and Tommy. So we kept it going.
So we kept it going, and that was really great.
Yeah. So it was important that this group was here for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we need to stay, don't we? We need to make sure that we put our roots down.
Yeah.
And
Well, you didn't want you didn't want the allotment to go to pot because all what had happened, we'd been doing it for years and we grew things and you wanted it still to be wanted and look nice. And last year there was a Japanese couple that passed Raymond and I, and we were digging, and I was so proud. He just stopped and said, "This allotment, this allotment here always looks so nice and clean and tidy." And I felt so proud. And so we brought them in and round. And he said, we walked around and he said, this being the very first one we can see, it always looks tidy, clean, and jovial because he's seen it with a lot of people in it, even including the schools, including Broughton House in St. George's. He's seen us all and he said there's always laughter. And that was so important. It brought tears to my eyes.
And that sort of feedback's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You can get 10 bad things, but one good thing counteracts the 10 bad things.
Lifts you up, yeah. So that sort of community spirit is what we like to spread as part of the group. And I thank you, ladies, for coming and having a chat with us today. It's been fantastic listening to you and being able to sit down and really open up about what the group means to you. And hopefully in the future, the group can go from strength to strength, bring more people in and be able to spread our goodwill and success throughout the community. Thanks again for listening to the Room to Talk podcast. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.